Thank you all so much for joining me today. I bring you greetings from Israel. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Ruth Pauline Plummer, and we have been studying on the purpose and power of woman, and we're going to continue our study today. You know, we know him best as Sherlock Holmes, but his real name is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He made a quote, I think, that prefaces our study today, and that is, he says, "I have seen too much not to know that the impression of a woman may be more valuable than the conclusion of an analytical reasoner." Today, we're going to talk about understanding the woman's communication style. You know, God made women and men very, very different from each other in the way that they think, act, and respond. And these differences were designed to be complementary, not divisive. Adam and Eve originally lived in harmony with God, and so they were able to live in harmony with one another. They knew how to draw on each other's strengths in communication for the betterment of them both. However, when humanity turned away from God's purposes and broke relationship with him, the lines of communication between males and females were cut, or should I say at least badly frayed. And so the differences that were originally designed to correspond to one another now often lead to misunderstandings and conflict in relationships between men and women. The chances are, and I'm sure you who are listening to me today, you have experienced some of this misunderstanding and conflict firsthand, handling differences of opinion and avoiding discord or common, problems in relationships. So, how should you conduct yourself when you have been created to function differently from others with whom you live and work? How are you to live harmoniously with a husband or a wife, if you're men out there that are listening, whom you love, but who processes information and responds in a manner that is totally different from the way that you do? How do you make yourself understand, and how do you communicate effectively? Well, most of all, how do you keep from trying to control another person or driving a wedge between yourself and others because of these differences? You know, many women and men struggle with these issues, and the answers to understand the purposes and design of females and males that influence their communication styles. And so with this knowledge and some patience and forgiveness, females and males who are seeking God's redemptive purposes for their lives can communicate with one another effectively and happily. When we look at Colossians chapter 3, verse 13, this would be a good guiding principle for us as we deal with differences in communication. And it reads, "Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." You know, when women and men are considerate with one another, they have the basis on which they can develop the mutual love and respect that is crucial for lasting relationships. So today we're going to look at the female's communication style and contrast it with the male style so that their different perspectives can be understood and appreciated. And in this way, they may be brought into the complementary balance that was God's original purpose for them, which is male and female. And this balance will only be achieved when females and males understand the strengths of each other's communication style, and when they learn to communicate with each other according to the style that the other party can receive and understand. And so we're going to talk about the basic natures and tendencies of females and males in communication today. There will always be exceptions depending on the individual. Yet, within the variations, the general tendencies usually hold true. So let's talk about the woman. The woman is an emotional feeler. The woman is an emotional feeler. You know, God made the woman primarily as an emotional feeler. And while he made the man chiefly as a logical thinker. So let's define these terms. When I say that a woman is an emotional feeler, I'm referring to the way in which she processes and thinks about the verbal and nonverbal communication she receives and perceives from the world around her. Because the woman is an incubator, she not only receives thoughts and ideas into her being, but she also transforms them as she processes them in her emotional, mental, and spiritual wombs. Her communication style reflects this process. And so when a woman receives information, she assesses it both mentally and emotionally at the same time. And this is what makes her distinct from the male, who generally uses these functions separately. Now, why is this so? Well, again, purpose determines design. Come on, say that with me. Purpose determines design. God's creation is remarkable. He actually designed the brain of females and males to be different. Now, the neural pathways between the left and right hemispheres of a woman's brain, both the logical and the emotional sides, are intact. And so this explains what often puzzles many men. Like, how are women, are able to do multiple tasks at the same time rather than having to focus on just one? The woman's brain allows her to process facts and feelings almost simultaneously. And her emotions are with her all the time she is thinking. And this influences her perspective on the world around her, as well as what is communicated to her. Now, in contrast, there are fewer nerves connecting the two hemispheres of the male's brain, so that the logical and emotional sides are not as closely connected. Because of this, the man, basically needs to shift gears to move from his dominant logical side to his emotional side. And that is why men in general think in terms of facts and in a linear fashion. They think like a straight line, the shortest distance between the 2 points, which gives them the ability to see the goal or the vision and to focus their energies on reaching it in the most straightforward and direct way. Well, women, on the other hand, tend to think more like a grid than a straight line. A woman's brain is designed to pick up many details that men don't see, things that go beyond the mere facts, such as the personalities, motivations, and feelings of both herself and others. A woman can perceive, she can analyze, evaluate, and see relationships between things all at the same time, like Y and Z coordinates on a grid track with multiple of factors at the same time. Isn't she powerful? So no one person or no one gender can look at the world with complete perspective. Therefore, God has designed things so that when the female man and the male man work together in unity, they can help one another to see more balanced pictures of life. They weren't meant to understand the world and fulfill their dominion mandate in isolation from one another. And so because of this reason, they have built-in ways of seeing the world that are of benefit to each other. God designed the woman to look at life through an emotional filter, and the man to look at life through a logical filter. This does not mean that women do not use logic or that men do not have emotion. They each just have a specific way of looking at the world. The woman can help the man see aspects of life which, if overlooked or ignored, can become detours or potholes, preventing him from reaching his goal or vision, or from reaching it as quickly as he might have. Her peripheral vision keeps him from being blindsided as he single-mindedly pursues his goals and objectives. On the other hand, the man's linear thinking helps the woman not to become so enmeshed in the many layers of her multidimensional thinking that she loses sight of the goal and never achieves it or reach it. And so women and men need each other. We need each other in order to chart the best course in life that enables them to reach their common goal, but also experience their journey in the fullest, wisest, and most rewarding way possible. You know, women often have been written off as foolish and inferior by men because they are expressive and show their emotions. A woman does not need to apologize for her emotions because God made her to feel. Males have assumed that their approach is better than the female's approach rather than complementary to it. And they haven't known or understood how and why the woman was created to be an emotional feeler. And so what communication between women and men comes down to is feeling, thinking, and self-expression. Women and men both feel. Women and men both think. It is their manner of looking at the world and their self-expression that makes the difference. A woman's first reaction will generally be an emotional one, followed by a thinking one, while the man's first reaction will be a thinking one, but he will also feel. And because the woman was created to be more attuned emotionally, she feels everything from the way a person looks at her to what a person is saying or doing. I mean, this is not a natural response for her because she was made to feel the world around her and within her. For example, a woman will be looking forward to a romantic evening with her husband that they had planned, right? She will prepare the food, set the table, arrange the flowers, maybe even polish the silverware, and then meet him at the door when he comes home. Her husband walks in, says hello, then strides right past her without noticing that she was dressed up or the table that was set. Instead of going to the table, he goes into the living room and says, I'm going to have dinner in front of the TV while I watch the news. I'm going to, now, in his mind, he is still in work mode. He is intent on finding out any information that may affect his work and thus his ability to provide for his wife and his family. However, because his wife doesn't understand this, she is deeply hurt at his behavior. Her first reaction is to feel that he is ungrateful, he's inconsiderate, and totally heartless. So she goes into the living room and approaches him very angrily. Am I talking about you? Anyway, he asks, what is the matter with you? Well, at this point, she sees nothing complimentary in the way he is designed. When he don't understand purpose, or when we don't understand purpose, we begin to misinterpret motives. And so it is this suspicion that creates conflict. And this is why understanding purpose and design is so important. Both the woman's reaction and the man's reactions are related to the way they are made. She took his apparent indifference personally, while his mind was preoccupied with what he was thinking, so that he did not notice what his wife was feeling. So when we don't understand purpose, we begin to misinterpret motives. And so when a woman and a man understand that the female is an emotional feeler and that the male man is a logical thinker, they can understand how to use their differences for the betterment of them both. And so the point that I'm making today is that the distinct differences between women and men are meant to be a help to them, not a hindrance or a source of pain. And one way of thinking and communicating is not better than the other way. And the inherent differences that are between the two are not a result of the fall. Okay, the way men and women are designed is for their good. They just need to exercise patience and understanding and to value the other's contribution. So I want to talk the next few minutes about self-expression. Come on, say it with me, self-expression. Now, a woman can generally express her feelings and thoughts better than a man can. Most women love to talk because of God's purpose for them. And God designed the woman to communicate what is going on in her heart and mind. And because a man talks less than a woman does, he can sometimes give her the impression that he's not doing too much thinking. You know why? Because men think quite a bit. However, they often don't express their thoughts. And when they do, they express only the most salient points because they are interested in facts rather than details. Now, this is why a man can walk into the house and bypass a beautifully set table his wife has prepared and not say anything about it. The man needs help in switching his focus from linear thinking about his goals and to work, to an appreciation of the sensory and emotional aspects of life. And then he can notice and appreciate what his wife has done for him. A man also needs to learn to articulate what he appreciates and feels. The woman, on her part, needs to understand that the man, or when the man walks by her table without saying anything, it doesn't necessarily mean that he is being inconsiderate. It means that he is of a linear frame of mind, because this is his natural mindset. So then you have to ask yourself, do men really have emotion? Well, contrary to what many women believe, men do have emotions. They just don't always express them, either because it is more difficult for them or because their thinking rather than their emotion is at the forefront of what they're engaged in. It all goes back to purpose. It all goes back to purpose. God designed the man with the capacity to focus on the cold, hard facts of a situation. Why? It is because he was created first. And in that position, he was designed to lead. A leader can't afford to base his decisions on emotions, especially in a crisis. Remember, we're talking about general tendencies. And this doesn't matter, or maybe I should say it this way, this doesn't mean that a woman can't lead. However, when she does, she often has to balance her emotions with the facts in order to make the best decisions. And her instincts can serve her well in this capacity. You know, I have observed that the way a man acts when he receives information from a woman can make her very angry. Suppose she says, the mortgage is due and we are behind in our payments. And he says, oh, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. His wife says, but you don't understand, okay? what I just said. You don't understand what I just said. We don't have the money. It's not just that it's due. We don't have the money. And they're coming for the furniture. And so her husband is still replying, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I'll take care of it. Well, that's just not good enough for the woman. As women, we're going to phone our mother and our cousin and our auntie to tell them all about the situation. But the man, he seems like he's almost nonchalant about it. Now, the woman could interpret his response to mean that he doesn't care. Yet, all the time, he's been thinking about what he's going to do. She's feeling, he's thinking. She's feeling, he's thinking. He is formulating all kinds of ideas and schemes in his head about how he can get the money. And since a female is an emotional feeler, she is generally led and motivated by her emotions. And even though she also thinks, she is still being led by her emotions. Yet a male is led or motivated by his thinking because of his leadership and provider responsibilities. There are times when a woman isn't feeling what a man is thinking, and a man is not thinking what a woman is feeling. When this happens, the lack of communication between them compounds their frustration with one another. Men need to learn to tell women what they're thinking and feeling. Again, when the man walks past that beautifully laid dinner table, he has to remember to express his feelings. And at the same time, the woman shouldn't consider his unemotional response as being either irresponsible or inconsiderate. Remember, she is feeling, he's thinking. So what's the perfect balance? Well, the man generally bases his thoughts and actions on what is logical. He factually analyzes everything. This is both a strength and a weakness because emotions and insights are very important to a person's functioning in the world. Therefore, the man needs someone who can balance his logic without feeling. Otherwise, he'll go through life with merely a cold, logical outlook. He needs someone who can show him the emotional side of life, who can remind him of his need to be sensitive to others. You know, I appreciate God's design, don't you? He designed things in such a way that females and males need one another. The female was created to help the man, in that whatever the man lacks, the female has. The female's emotional feeling will balance the male's logical thinking. And many women don't understand how important they are to the men in their lives. What the male man lacks, the female possesses. And the reverse is also true. What the female lacks, the male possesses. And this principle is based on God's purpose. Whatever God drew out of Adam to make Eve, the man needs in order to be complete. There are qualities in the woman that God took out of the man at creation that a man needs. So women's insight and discernment are very, very key and very vital to the relationship. Now, there's an interesting example of this truth in the incident where Pilate judged Jesus. And Pilate was carrying out his job, the administration of Roman authority over the Jews. And when the chief priest brought Jesus before Pilate and accused him of being an insurrectionist, Pilate's first inclination was to try to rule within the law. He saw no basis for their accusation and wanted to release Jesus. And in the middle of this dispute, Pilate's wife sent a warning to him. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him a message. She said, don't have anything to do with that innocent man, because I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him. Now you can find this in Matthew chapter 27, verse 19. But so when we look at this example, what she was really saying in essence was, look, I have a premonition about this man. He didn't do anything wrong. Don't touch him. She was trying to appeal to Pilate's sensibilities. She was warning him that he should use discretion and discernment when making his decision. But Pilate became very nervous that things were getting out of hand. And so he wanted to please everyone. And so he made his decision. And so this is a great example of that. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is that God gave females to males so that men could have a balance, so that they can have the benefit of women's sensitivity and feelings. It is very easy for men to make a decision and not care what anyone thinks about it or who will be affected by it. But this is why it's so good for a man to have that other part of him that says, what are you planning to do? Or what you're planning to do may be right, but the way you intend to go about it is wrong. We're going to continue to talk about understanding a woman's communication style in our next segment. But as you can see, it is very, very important for us to understand the communication styles of both male and females in order for us to complement one another. Well, until next time, thank you for joining me. Make sure you tune in, tell a friend, make sure you download our app on your phone so that you can have access to these teachings and these programs and more. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. I bring you greetings from Israel. My name is Dr. Ruth Pauline Plummer, and I want you to be my very special guest for our Women in Leadership Bible Study, which is held every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. If you would like to recapture the spirit of leadership and tap into your greatest potential, then you would want to join our Bible study. It is in the comfort of your own home that you can enjoy this teaching. So if you're interested, please contact us at www.covenantdaughtersinternational.org. We would love to have you there.